think this is a huge way to advertise. People that don't think this is advertisement are crazy. They must not listen to podcasts because I think podcasts are the future. People are gonna get more and more bored with the average TV model. They're gonna want something different and real. I think you can find that in podcasts. All right, well, get this lit first. We'll get started. Okay. What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of the podcast. Excited to be here with you guys hanging out today. It's always a treat when I get to do these and just sit down, smoke, talk, and reflect on the week and what's going on. So today I'm smoking some Forum Cut, some Girl Scout cookies. And man, this Forum Cut for me, whenever I smoke it, it's always, I know it's an old strain now, but it's always a treat because back in 2009 and 10 when I first started growing weed, and that was before I even had blown glass at all. One of my things was once I started blowing glass, and I'd already been a grower for a couple years, and I was like, man, maybe if I get good at glass blowing, I could trade someone a pipe and get the Forum Cut. I was obsessed. I wanted this cut so bad. I was living in upstate New York. I was in no place where the Forum Cut was floating around. It was middle of nowhere upstate. So when I smoke the Forum Cut nowadays, I always feel lucky because it's a little bit of a nostalgia and a reminder. It's like I did it. I got it. So another thing too, before we really get into the episode, the Hawaii show, we're going to be rescheduling. Even if things get better by, June 27th, I still just don't think people are going to be ready to really be jumping around and stuff and traveling. I think most people are still going to be recovering from everything going on. So we're rescheduling, we're not canceling it. We're still going to make it happen. I'm going to do a drop with Heady Hawaii still around that time, an online drop, but I'm going to save the one of one and lathe pieces and all the special stuff I was going to do for the rescheduled date. And I'll let you guys know as soon as we know the exact date because I just found out that we were rescheduling like yesterday. So just wanted to let you guys know about that. And upcoming drops, we got Boom Bap in Barcelona, Spain. And yes, Spain, they are still getting their drop. Their shop has had to close down at this point just because of safety, public safety, and all that stuff going on over there as well. We're dealing with it here. But they're still going to be selling to local people and online and stuff and shipping and doing stuff like that. So the Spain drop is still happening. And then after them, it's Heady Glass Gallery. And I've been working with Heady Glass Gallery since, I think, 2014. They've been supporting me since just about day one as well, so I'm excited to get cash and order. It's been a while. They haven't gotten an order from me in a couple years just because I've been so busy. And yeah, so now that we got those couple little things out of the way, talking about the Hawaii show and drops coming up, smoke this joint. We'll just get caught up for the week. And I want to talk about this piece right here. But we'll get into that here in a little bit. That's the Hookah Recycler collab with Gonzo. And also today, too, I wanted to talk a little bit about skateboarding, my skateboarding background and stuff, because a few days ago I posted just like a little clip of me doing a trick in the studio. People were pretty, said a lot of nice things, and we were excited. So for the people that do watch the podcast, I wanted to just give you guys a little background on skateboarding and what it was to me and all that stuff. So, but we'll get into all that. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up what we're getting into today. So if this doesn't sound like fun to you, you can get out of here right now. Man, that Forum Cut. When people grow it right, it gets so minty. Like it's such an interesting terp. It's honestly, it's really hard to explain besides minty and salty and a little bit of peppery in there, but it's that mint you get from it that I think is the quality that most people are just like why it was such a hitter. And also too, it's very potent. And I think I got this from Den Rec dispensary up in Denver. Went and stocked up last week because we're continue to just stay inside and follow all the quarantine stuff. So we're now set up. We have enough flour for about a month, so we're just gonna hunker down, Even though we've already been doing it for a few weeks now, we're just going to keep at it. But yeah. Can't believe we're at episode 8 already, guys. I mean, it's feeling really proud of myself and my producer, Mark Stiles. We've both been working hard on this and, putting it out. And all the people out there, they're taking the time to check it out. I know I say this a lot, but I want to keep saying it because I really do appreciate you guys that watch these and come hang out for an hour and get caught up and see what we're getting into. It's been really, really fun. All right, so I think let's get into the function, and talk about the hookah recycler now, and get that out of the way a little earlier. Usually I talk for about 15-20 minutes about just life and shit, and then we get into the function. But let's do the function a little earlier on, and then we'll get extra stoned and start talking about other shit. So let's see here. I'm gonna move this in front of me a little bit, and we'll break it down because I've never really got to do too much real videos or talking about this piece of glass right here. I'm just gonna turn on that camera, sweet, so you can kind of see those better. And also too, if you're listening to this on the podcast app or just the audio, this part right here is probably gonna be a little bit better to watch on the YouTube. You can click the link in my bio on my Instagram @theydidit. So we're gonna talk about this piece right now, and there's gonna be a lot of pointing and showing parts and stuff. So if you're just listening to the audio, this part probably be better to check out the video. So this right here was made in 2016, and we called it the candelabra recycler, and I'll explain why. And I'm probably saying that wrong, but I'm from upstate New York. Give me a break. And I made this piece with Gonzo and Blake Gonzo Glass. He's one of my oldest buddies in the glass community. He collabed with me very early on and came and spent time with me, and I've collabed with him more than anyone else. He's come to my house more than any other artist I've worked with and stuff. So this is a really special one we made together. And this is honestly one of those pieces. When he came over here and we were collabing, he drove out from California. We started brainstorming what we were gonna make. While he was here, drawing up ideas and stuff. And we had a bunch of ideas. And then I showed him this drawing I had in my notebook. And I asked him, I was like, if you're down, would you be down to make this with me? Because Gonzo's fume prep is so clean and so easy to work. His prep is just very clean. So it's just, for me to shape it and keep things really consistent, he was the perfect person at that time for me to work with because his prep is so good and consistent. And anyone that's collabed with him knows that. Gonzo, shit's on point. So I showed him this drawing of the hookah recycler, which is a 3-person recycling hookah. You basically take this piece out right here, put your nail in the middle, but we'll go more into that here in a minute. And I showed it to him, and he was like, that's going to be a lot of prep. If you guys look, there's so many little parts and sections and shaping in this. And this is all gold and silver fume, the whole thing. And then also has a layer of green stardust over it so it sparkles. So this is a ton of work for Gonzo to do. Probably could have made 6 pieces with all this prep. But I showed it to him, and basically it was like, hey man, would you be down to make this? And he was like, all right. He's like, if we can finish a few other pieces and find them homes, I'll put the time into this one with you, because this is a huge undertaking, making all this prep, especially not having anything pre-prepped. The stuff he had pre-prepped we were already using for other collabs, so he had to prep this whole thing fresh. And I was so excited when he said that he was down to make this thing. It was it's one of those things I had drawn up for about a year, and it was an idea I really just wanted to do, but it was something I wanted to do. I wanted to do it in a special format, and Gonzo's prep's all transparent, but it has so much color. So it's this was just it was the perfect person to make this piece with. 1 second, we got some puppies barking. Bane, you guys are good. It's just the garbage guys. Chill out. Okay, so let's start breaking down this piece. We'll get into it. We'll show more of the detail and how this whole thing was put together, because this was a challenging build. Let me just take a sip of coffee here, and we'll really break it down. Chill, Bane. Okay, so all these mouthpieces are removable. Now, I gotta say, one of the hardest parts about this piece was making three mouthpieces that looked the same. It was I learned so much on this build because I had never had to make, especially at this time when I made it, I wasn't doing a bunch of the same thing. I was making different stuff almost every day of the week. I wasn't doing something like the RBR where I'm making them over and over again. So for me to make a bunch of parts that were exactly the same, this was a huge challenge for me. And right here is why the name is. Oh my God, don't mind me, guys. That first joint of the day, I'm feeling it already. That Girl Scout cookies. The reason we call it the Candelabra recycler. Oh my God, Candelabra recycler, is because when you look at like this, it looks like something that would hold like candles that you'd like carry through like a castle or some shit. So that's where the name came from. Is how it looked without like the mouthpieces in it and stuff. And it's like all that like symmetry of like three, because it's a three-person recycler, and I love it almost looks like candlesticks and stuff. So it comes apart because there was really no way for me at that point, and I still think to this day, unless I built it on a lathe, to actually have three mouthpieces that went like kind of like flare out so far. Oh man, it's fun to look at this piece. And like this morning when I was actually gonna show off some other pieces today, but then I thought about it. I'm like, man, me and Gonzo made this piece, and I never like really posted it too hard for sale because it was one of those things where I was like, this is such a special piece. Like it's the type of piece I want to show like my family members when they come visit me, and they don't know really what my job is, and they're kind of just like, well, what do you do for a living or whatever. And this was the type of piece I wanted to show them just because I felt like it was a really good display of like my skill and like what I was able to do by hand. And even if you didn't like pipe art or anything like that, when this whole thing is assembled and put together, it really, if you don't know what you're looking at. Like, you know, a lot of people that like in my family didn't know what the fuck it was. And then when I told them it was a pipe and I explained it, they're like, oh, I would have never thought that was a pipe. They just didn't think about it like that. But also too, this thing could be smoked like by yourself. Like there's little plugs, or you could smoke with just two people. You can plug off this whole section, and like, or you could smoke it completely by yourself. Plug off both of these. Like there's little stoppers for it, so you can like, you know, you can smoke it with two people by yourself or all three. I would say though that, man, I couldn't imagine. I've only smoked it with two people. I've never smoked it with three. It'd probably be pretty wild being that close to so many people's faces while you're taking a dab. but that's why probably hoses are better. But for me, it was more like the aesthetic of the overall piece. Like I wanted to create a shape, like a finished piece. Like it was more of like an artsy kind of thing, and not so much just trying to make like a hookah for people to smoke. Though it works very well. It's a really fun piece. Like, and also too, this whole thing, even the perk is all like fumed all the way down through. You're not gonna be able to see it in the video because this thing has so much shit going on with it. But basically, you take out this stopper in the top here, and then Joel Halen made this giant honey bucket back in 2016 for me and Gonzo, and that goes right in the top. So that was like, that's the nail for it and everything too. So it's just, I just wanted to like bring out an older piece and tell little stories about it, and honestly just reminisce about it, you know, on camera with you guys and talk about it and hang out, because this is definitely one that I definitely posted a bunch of times on Instagram, but I never really talked about it like in depth because we just didn't have that back in 2016, you know, like I don't even think we had Instagram stories at that point. I think it was just like 1 minute videos on your main feed. And yeah, I'm excited to work with Gonzo here again in the future too. We had some plans to work for a show we had coming up, but I think like because of everything going on right now, everyone's shows are kind of put on hold for the most part. But yeah, special piece, the 3-person hookah recycler. This is one of those things where I hope someday we can set up some like live events and do like Bear Mountain sessions where people bring all their Bear Mountain Studios rigs. I'll bring some really unique stuff like the hookah recycler, the Titan RBR prototypes. And I live in Colorado, so this would be the best place, honestly, to do it. So we're going to plan that out once things get better. And we'll do some sessions where people can come out and try some prototypes and play around with all these different rigs and stuff once things get better. But yeah, jeez, don't mind that giant truck outside driving by. You guys probably didn't hear that, but I heard it. I'll slide that out of the way for now. Doing a lot of giveaways right now too, guys. Like watch my feed closely because there's going to be at least one giveaway a week We're doing 2 this week. By the time this comes out, they'll both be over. But when you guys see this weekend or Sunday or Monday, there will probably be another giveaway. I'd say like Tuesday or Wednesday that week. So be on the lookout for that. But I think I talked about this a little bit last episode, but now we're actually doing it. So I figured I'll just talk about a little bit more what we're doing. Me and my wife, and I'm really stoked she's on board to do this because she doesn't really like when I give away a glass because to be real, we always have bills to pay and stuff too. We're all real people. Everyone always needs like money to deal with stuff. But honestly, I know if I just work hard, we'll pay our bills and I still can give away the glass I want to give away. I've already got 2 of them made, but the plan is right now because a lot of the stores I work with have had to close their retail locations, but they're still running their Instagrams and selling glass online. But a lot of these stores are more brick and mortar stores. They haven't really spent a lot of time building up their Instagrams or their online presence where people know to buy glass from them. And so what my plan is basically with every drop during quarantine, I'm going to give away some sort of RBR or recycler piece I've made. They're all going to be functional pieces, but I'm going to be giving them away to help show my followers where the drops are happening and help show people new shops they maybe want to support or check out. And this isn't just for my glass either. You might learn about a new shop and then see them post another artist you love and then you buy that piece. This is not just about buying my work, but it's about just helping people that have small businesses that are still paying their employees but had to close their stores. This is an easy thing for me to just do so that we can get them selling more glass or seeing, other people finding pieces that have been hiding on the shelves for years from other artists and just, whatever it is. But this is how me and my wife, how we can help and do stuff for our stores during this time. And she was so on board with it. I'm like, why are you so on board? She's on board with this. And she was like, if there's a reason behind why you're giving something away, you're just not giving something away for just randomly. She's like, then I'm on board. There's a reason behind this. We're, trying to help these stores. So let's do it. But usually when I do my giveaways, I'm just like, oh, I'm going to do a giveaway today. No reason. She's like, you had 3 pieces to finish. Why did you just make a piece to give away? That doesn't make sense. Now you're more behind. But I can't help it. I get more behind. Even if I needed money that day, there's something I love about making glass and doing giveaways and stuff like that. I'm addicted to it. But it's fun for me, so we're going to keep on doing it. So that's one of the things we're going to be doing, these giveaways throughout this whole time to help these stores and to give you guys something fun to look forward to each week. Besides, we'll have the podcast, we'll have some giveaways, and then have my daily posts on both my Instagrams. So doing as much as I can on my end, even though all I am is a pipe maker and I make some videos and stuff. So it's not like I'm really doing anything, but it's what I know how to do. So I'm going to try and do it my best right now. And maybe it will help. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's, maybe I'm just being silly, but it's what I know how to do. So that's what we're doing. And yeah, I don't know if I've ever talked about it too much on the podcast, but I want to tell some stories of, skateboarding and living in Brooklyn and working in Times Square today and just talk about my time in New York City. I figured we'll just get into this now. That way the people that maybe I was just here for the function and whatever, we're going to talk about some other stuff. But honestly, I might pull out some other pipes later because I have some other pieces with water and we can get into some function videos and stuff. And I have some new collabs I could show off. But we'll do that in a little bit. I'm just going to drink some coffee, smoke, and let's talk about some stories in New York City because and skateboarding too, not just New York City, just growing up skateboarding and all the things I did and got into. So I started skateboarding, I think I was about 8 years old. So I wasn't super little when I started, but I started when I was about 8 years old, maybe 9. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater came out in 1999, and that was changed my whole life. I was like, oh, this is it. I just want to skate. And then, all the skate videos I was finding. And honestly, I played a lot of team sports as a kid growing up, basketball, lacrosse, and stuff like that. And I liked them and they were fun. But there was something about skateboarding where I didn't need a team or anything. I was just able to grab my board and just go out by myself and not rely on anyone and just have fun and not have to need a whole team to play this game. And as soon as I got my first skateboard, I was like absolutely hooked though. And it's all I did, and I was really bad at it for a long time. And not saying I ever got really good at it either, but I was like when I was younger, like my nickname was 1 foot. I was like the chubby kid that would always land with just 1 foot on the board. So my nickname was 1 foot. Like I could flip it right and do all the tricks, but I could never land with 2 feet. Just 1 foot on the board. Now I was scared. I swear. And then when I was like 13, 14 years old, just going into like what was it like eighth or ninth grade or something like that. Um, I had this weird falling out with my group of friends, and I wasn't hanging out with anyone anymore. Um, so I was like just home by myself all the time, and like I was just thinking about these guys that would pick on me because I wasn't good at skateboarding. And then I went out my driveway, and for 9 months, I just like skateboarded so hard in my driveway. Just would do the same trick for 6 hours a day. I didn't even care. Like, and I was building ramps and like trying stuff in rails and all these things, and just working so hard to get good at skateboarding. And then I saw all these friends skating in a parking lot, like outside. It might have even been the high school or something, or maybe a gas station or something. And like I rolled up and hadn't really like talked to them or hung out or skated with them in like almost a year, and skated and like this was like a big like I learned like a lesson like here. And honestly, like I was skating with them and I was like doing really good and like beat everyone in skate, and I felt really proud of myself. And half of them weren't even there though. I was like, where's so and so and so and so, and everyone's like, well, they don't skateboard anymore. And like those were the people I really wanted to show that I got better at this. Like I worked so hard to like prove something to these people that were just picking on me. And by the time I got to where I wanted to be to show them, they weren't even doing it anymore and didn't even care about it. They were like hanging out with girls and stuff instead at that point, and I was just like still just trying to do this skateboarding thing. And but yeah, like I don't know, for me it's just like I realized I shouldn't have spent, you know, I got a lot out of it, but it was like, was it coming from a positive place or was I just trying to prove something to someone? But basically after that happened, I was like 14, 15. And then I loved skateboarding just for skateboarding at that point, because I was just like, man, like I don't need to prove anything to anyone. This is just fun. This is for me. This is like my escape after I get out of school. I just get on my board and, like hang out in the driveway and do whatever. Like, cause I lived out in the country in the middle of nowhere. I didn't live in a city or anything like that. Like I didn't move to New York City until I was 20 years old. So like I grew up out in like a farm, like dairy country kind of area where like the only like place you could skate was like your driveway. And we would have to take trips, to go skate parks and stuff, at least driving, half hour, 45 minutes to get to a decent park. And even I think about them now and they weren't even decent parks compared to the parks we have nowadays. But then through my like high school years and stuff, like skateboarding was what was like, that was like what defined me. It's who I was. Like it was like I was a skateboarder. That was like my whole life. I always thought I'd do something in skateboarding. I didn't think I'd ever be a pro skater, but I always thought that I would be someone that at least worked within the skateboard industry. Like maybe I'm not an actual, like I don't like make money from skateboarding and doing tricks, but maybe I work for like a board company or I do this or that. And I went to Woodward skate camp for like I think it was 5 years. It might have been 4 years. We'll just say four to be safe. I think it was 4 years in a row, but one year I went for like 2 weeks. But Woodward, I went to the East Coast location in Pennsylvania, and what Woodward skate camp is, if you don't know what it is, it's basically this huge, like, there's multiple skate parks. There's like 20 different skate parks. It's all in this like big like campground thing. And these are like super professionally built parks, and there's like restaurants and like cabins, and you bunk with like a bunch of people, and it's all for like, 17 and under. And all your instructors are pro skaters. So like you're hanging out with all these pro skaters that you see in the video games or on, X Games and stuff. They're the guy that like, you wake up in the morning and they're at the door of your cabin. They're like, you ready to skate today? And they go like teach you stuff and hang out. And it was like, oh my God, I fucking loved Woodward Skate Camp. It was so fun. Like one year I got like, it was like third place in the game of skate at the Rock. And then I got like a discounted week. So like my parents like were able to like, I was able to do 2 weeks, one year, and that was really really fun, being able to stay that long. It was just, but you're so like sore. And what's kind of crazy too is when you go to Woodward skate camp, the first day you get there, you're not allowed to skateboard at all. So basically everyone gets there and like you go to your cabin, you get your bunk, you like unpack everything, and then it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Then you have to sit there until 8 a.m. the next day before you can even touch a skateboard. Like you're not allowed to like stand outside the cabin and do tricks. And the reason they do that is because people are so excited when they get there and they see how crazy the parks are. They're like, we don't want kids all getting hurt like the first day and then they can't skate the whole week. So they like try to like, all right, you guys can't skateboard today, but tomorrow we're gonna start fresh in the morning, have breakfast, and then you can go skateboard and do all your classes. And how it's set up too is, at least when I went, like you had like a schedule of like classes you'd go to, but you could also skip the classes and just skate whatever park you want and do whatever you wanted to do and just hang out with friends, which is usually what I did. Honestly, I didn't go to too many of the classes, but I think it was just because I was so like excited to try everything. I didn't want to just sit at one park for like 2 hours because there's so many different parks, so many different things to try. But so yeah, when I was 17, I could no longer go to Woodward though, just because that was like, it's a camp for like, kids and teenagers basically. But once I turned 18 though, like it's weird. I took another little break from skateboarding for a short time. I got way, way too into playing World of Warcraft. It was bad for like 2 years. And I got like fat and shit. It was wild. And we could talk about that more in the future, but it's not that interesting. But I I like didn't skate at all for like 2 years at that point. And whenever I stopped skateboarding, and I just realized this the other night when I jumped on my board again for the first time, whenever I stop skateboarding, I feel like I always just don't feel like myself. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm not doing like what defined me, like, or what I grew up with. That's why I need to start skateboarding again. But man, I did quit from like 18 till about 20, and I got like heavier. And then my wife was like pretty much over playing World of Warcraft because she was playing World of Warcraft too, and she was like, "This is like," she's like, "I want to go like do something with my life," and she got accepted into makeup designery, which is a really high end makeup school in Manhattan. It's in Soho, Lower Manhattan, and she got accepted there, and she got the financial aid and everything. And she's like, "I'm moving to New York City." She's like, "You can come with me, or you can stay here, but I'm going." And I was like, just like this fat World of Warcraft like playing dude, just sitting there. I'm like, "Oh, what? You're moving to New York City?" And I didn't want to go. I was like pissed. I was like, I don't want to move to New York. Like I'm comfortable here. Like I had my own like place, and like I had my job and stuff. And but I like wanted her more. So I was like, I guess I'm moving to New York City. And it was like kind of nowhere. And I told my friends, I was like, I guess I moved to New York City. I told I told my whole guild on World of Warcraft because I was one of the raid leaders, pretty nerdy. But I told them, I was like, guys, I have to stop playing World of Warcraft. I'm moving to New York City. And everyone was just so confused because I was the dude that I was up all night. I slept like 2-3 hours a day. I was still, the schedule I'm on now with glass blowing is my same World of Warcraft schedule, but now I'm actually doing something productive and doing something with my life. But I'm working those same crazy hours as I used to do when I was just like playing WoW and staying up all night, all day, and just fucking farming and playing way too many video games. And so I basically told everyone, hey, I'm moving. I like quit playing WoW and I moved to New York City, and I brought my skateboard with me. And man, I remember, I don't even know if this is an important thing to say, but I remember the night we were like leaving for New York City. It was like afternoon. It was like pouring out and stuff. And like I was saying bye to my parents. And because Cassie, my wife's parents, were driving us to New York City because we lived in upstate New York, which is about 5.5 hours away from New York City. So if you meet someone that says they're from New York, they may have never even been to New York City because it's so far away. It would have been easier to go to a different state than New York City for a lot of people. Um, but the afternoon that we were moving, we were like, I was saying bye to my parents. We climb in the car. It's like pouring and stuff. And my mom like runs outside with this cooler. And my mom's like, she just gives me like food and stuff. She had like this cooler full of meat. And she's like, you can't forget your meat. And she's like trying to put it in the car. And there's so much shit in the car. Nothing's fitting. And I'm like, and like she's upset and everyone's upset. And we couldn't fit the meat. So I couldn't take this meat my mom packed for me. So she had to bring it back inside and whatever. But I don't even know why I told that story, but that was, I don't know, for me, that was like kind of intense. But so we moved to New York City, and I brought my skateboard with me, and I hadn't skateboarded in a couple years. I was about 25, 30 pounds heavier than I had ever been. Um, and and I was like, maybe I'll use my skateboard. But when we moved to Brooklyn, there was literally, because we were 20 years old and we didn't know anyone, there was literally nothing to do. Like we just, and we didn't have like video games. We didn't have money. We didn't have money to do anything. Like just getting our fucking studio apartment in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn was like $1,300 a month, not including utilities yet. So we were like young and we didn't have any money, so like we could barely afford that. And thank God Cassie's grandma helped a bit so that she could go to school. Um, but we had like nothing to do, and like I just started going outside my apartment with my skateboard and be like, okay, well, I'll skateboard. And at this time when I first moved to New York City felt like super big. And I was in like Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, which is very far from what most tourists or people that think about New York City when you think about it. You're not thinking about like Bed-Stuy, you're thinking about like parts of Manhattan. So I wasn't like close to anything. So I wasn't like, oh, I'll just like go outside and I'll go skate this famous place in New York City because I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how the trains really worked yet. Like everything seemed far away. I was kind of nervous. So I would just skate out in front of my apartment. And I met like a lot of nice people just doing that. Like so people just would hear you or like walk by or skate by, see you and stop you, talk to you. And I started meeting people. And Cassie's school didn't start for about 3 weeks or so. So we had about 3 weeks of just hanging out at our apartment until we tried to go to Manhattan. We were like, I don't know. Actually, no, we went to Manhattan pretty quick. She had to get all her books and shit. Man, now I'm thinking back. This is a while ago. I'm 30. I was 20. This is 10 years ago. I'm like, God, it's crazy. It's crazy how time flies, guys. It's fucking nuts. But the reason I was saying like, oh, like we didn't go into Manhattan right away is because I like really wasn't comfortable enough to explore New York City right away. So like me and my wife went into Manhattan a couple times from Brooklyn because she needed to get like materials and books and everything for school that was starting in a few weeks. But once she started school, I had gone to Manhattan about like I'd say 10 times with her running back and forth. And I felt a little more comfortable. I was like, okay, I know where the train station is. I know how to use the subway fairly well. I get it. Now my wife's going to school and I didn't have a job or anything. And I didn't have access to weed yet. It was sucked. My first like 2 months in New York City, I had no weed. But luckily, I was in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and no one IDs you. So I would just go to the corner store and just buy like 40s of like Coqui 900 or, yeah, it was mostly Coqui 900. Really gross, but also did the job. So I was just, drinking alcohol when I first moved to New York City for like, that was my party then because I was like, well, I can't get weed. I don't know anyone here. And but once I started exploring like Manhattan and stuff and going to different like skate spots and parks, I started meeting a ton of people. And everybody smokes weed. I gotta take a sip of coffee. Holy shit, my voice. But I started meeting people, and like almost immediately, I met this guy. His name's Danny Rash. He's an artist. He still lives in New York City. Still skateboards every day. And he's one of my oldest friends from New York, and I miss him. But I saw this guy at the skate park, and he seemed like kind of he was at the same place as me. Like he used to skateboard, but he was just getting back into it. And I started talking to him. We were both like, yeah. He was like, yeah, I'm just getting back into it. I took a break for a few years, and I was like, oh, me too. So we kind of like bonded there, and then we started skating together. And and yeah, like he's the one that really started showing me a lot of spots in New York because he had been there longer. He moved there to be an artist, and like that's what he did. And he'd been there longer than me, so he kind of was just showing me. He's like, "Oh, let's go here today," and I would just follow him around. And one day I went back to his apartment, and he was like, "Oh, you want to smoke?" And I was like, "Fuck yes, dude! I have not smoked in like months. This has like been horrible. I don't know anyone here." And we smoked a blunt, and it was like literally the best weed I'd ever tried. Like oh, I was so stoned, but I was so comfortable just being outside. There's like two levels where you get so stoned you're not comfortable being in public and around people, and then there you can get that super high too, where you're like just like this is great. I love being around people and out in public, and that's how I felt. And I was in New York City, and it was just I felt like I was living in a movie. Being a kid that comes from upstate New York and like farm towns, like dairy farms and all that kind of shit, like and living in New York City, you always have these ideas of what it's supposed to be like, seeing Disney movies and all that type of stuff. You're like, oh, New York City's going to be like this or that. And it was even more than what I expected it to be. All I did every day was wake up. I would throw on the barracks. This was before Instagram or any of this shit. I'd throw on barracks. I'd watch like tip trick videos. I'd watch skate videos or trick of the day. And I'd smoke a blunt at the computer. And then I would fucking like hit up Danny, be like, all right, dude, you want to meet me at Chinatown? I'd jump on the train, meet him at the Chinatown Park. We'll skate there for a couple hours. Then we'll maybe go uptown or go to Queens and go skate Astoria or Forest Park. Tribeca Park. There's just all we would do all day is smoke weed, skateboard, eat dollar dumplings. Like New York City is really expensive unless you know where shit is. Like you can go to Chinatown. There's these spots, or like a little hole in the wall, like an alleyway, and there's just like an Asian lady back there whipping up dumplings and like these what are they called? Sesame seed pancakes or something like that, or something like that. But it was all fire. Seriously, the best food ever, and the nicest people, and super affordable too. Um, like $1 and you get like 6 dumplings, like 50 cents for one of these big sesame seed pancake things, and then like 50 cents for a soda. So like $2. Like you're eating good. And there's water fountains everywhere in New York City. I'm basically telling you how to be homeless in New York City right now. But that's how it was for me then because I didn't have any money. But the skateboarding, everything like that was free. So I was like, and like everyone was always smoking blunts at the skate park, and people were like, oh, you wanna hit off this? I'm like, fuck yeah, like. So I was able to just smoke all day and just be a real wook when I was in New York City. But it was like definitely like a life changing experience. It gave me so much perspective. And then when I moved back to upstate New York, because like eventually like after living in New York City for like, oh man, we just couldn't afford it on the real. Like that shit, like we only lasted about a year before we were like, okay, we can't afford to live here anymore. Like even because like Cassie had finished school because it was like a 9 month course, and she went to school for like one of her instructors was the makeup artist that did Fight Club and did all the makeup for Fight Club, like all like the gore makeup. Like she all the like the school she was going to, like she was just doing crazy stuff from high fashion makeup onto like legitimate like models and shit, and then also doing like monster movie like mask work and prosthetics and stuff. And then me, I'm hanging out with like this guy Danny Rash. His girlfriend works for Jessica Simpson's shoe line, and it's her assistant, and knows Jessica Simpson, hangs out with her all the time. I feel like I was in a fucking movie. I was a nobody though. I just wore really tight pants and skateboarded every day and couldn't grow a very good beard. So I wasn't anybody, but the people I was around and hanging out with, like I felt like I was in a fucking movie. And like one day I went to pick up Cassie from school, and when you say pick up, which means I just left the skate park, jumped on the train, went to Soho, and met her outside her school. One of the days I went to get her, like I'm standing there and I'm like I can't find her, and like I call her, and she's like, I'm outside. I'm like, where are you? And I walk by and I don't see her, and then I look, and like there's this bald lady standing there, and Cassie's completely bald, like smooth, like an alien. But she's also in her really fancy New York City like outfit gear, 'cause she was always dressed in fancy there, because that's what you do if you're a cool kid, I guess. I was always really sweaty, like huge white rings of sweat stains just from skateboarding. Like I'd pick her up from school, and I would just be eyes bloodshot, just like soaked to the bone with multiple layers of sweat that have dried and re-moistened up, just filthy. And people were like, who is this homeless guy hanging out with you? It's like, oh, it's Evan. That's my boyfriend. Because we were just boyfriend and girlfriend at that time. But we had already been together for 5 years at that point, because we started dating when we were 15. But I picked her up one day, and she had like a bald cap on, like completely like smooth, and like that's why I didn't even notice like it was her standing there. And but it was so well done that it looked real. Like this shit looked so real. Like her makeup was all done, and it was so well put on, because she's going to school with professionals, and so was she. So they're throwing on bald caps like pros and making people look like different people and monsters and stuff. And she just had a bald cap on from doing something. And we had to take the subway home, and our subway ride's like 45 minutes. But man, uncomfortable 45 minutes, because people couldn't tell, because it didn't look like a bald person. It like looked like an alien, because her head was so smooth, but it looked so real. Yeah. I don't know, but Halloweens were great, because Cassie did prosthetics and stuff, so she could do crazy, make you look like some crazy shit in New York City when we lived there and did Halloween. It's really fun. And even when we moved too, like a lot of the people, like, oh yeah, I forgot to say, I worked in Times Square in New York City. And like for me, like I'd wake up, like when I finally got a job, because for my first, I'd say like 4.5 months, I didn't have a job. So I was literally just smoking blunts and skateboarding every day. But then we got to a point where it's like, you really need to get a job, because I had applied a bunch of places, but no one was hiring me, because I don't know. I didn't have experience like other people had, and a lot of the jobs I was qualified for were just sales jobs. And if you don't have a sales, like any sort of sales background, they're not really trying to hire you. And so I eventually had to get a job, and me and my friend Danny actually got our jobs together. We went to our job interviews together and everything. We both got a job at the Element store in Times Square, and I just remember when we got hired. I'm like, we both got hired. This is like so crazy. Like, we get to hang out every day at work now too. Like, it was fucking fun. Um, but for me, like when I started working that job and I was like waking up every day and going to work in New York City, like taking the subway with everyone, like I was part of that New York City, like all the people living there and that flow. And it was all natural for me. And like I'd get off the train, I'd be in Times Square, and there wouldn't be that many people in Times Square because it was so early, because no one's out yet. It's really, pretty empty. And I'm just skateboarding through Times Square, this place that I used to see in movies and TV shows growing up as a kid. Like I was in those movies and TV shows. I felt like it was crazy. I was just that guy that like when tourists were there, I was the guy that would just see skating by that was just, he lives in New York City. I don't know. It was weird. It was I really liked living there, but it's a place you can only live, I feel like, if you're willing to work really hard for very little, or you need to be fairly set with your finances to live comfortably there. It's crazy expensive. Just like housing. I mean, you can find food for cheap, but yeah. But then when we moved home from New York City, because we couldn't, like, really just couldn't afford it anymore. So we had to get out, which was hard. It's really hard to move out of New York City too, just because it's expensive. Just trying to find like a U-Haul and do this and that. It's not as easy as other places. Like everything's like harder to get to. The streets are tiny and there's tons of people everywhere. But we moved home and fuck, I could not find good weed anywhere. And I think I talked about this briefly in another podcast episode, but that's kind of how I got into growing, is because I couldn't find like good flower anywhere. I just didn't know the right people or whatever. But when I moved back to upstate New York, I continued skating, but it didn't feel like it did in New York City. Like when you like live in New York City and you're like part of that community and you like know people, like people are excited to see you. It's almost like, people think, oh, like people in New York City are like really tough or they're mean or this or that. I'm like, what part of New York City were you in? Were you in Times Square? Were you in Soho? Yeah, you were around a bunch of tourists. You're around people that aren't from this country or people that aren't from New York City, so they're dicks. But people in New York City, like the real people, at least the ones I interacted with, were fucking the nicest people. Everyone's like hugging. Everyone's like, like one crazy thing for me being from upstate New York, like people just like hugging that you don't like, you're not family with. Like I was like, that was new for me. And also too, another thing, like a girl kissing you on the cheek, like when they like hug you goodbye, like nothing. It was just like a friend thing. Like me and my wife weren't used to any of that, because even some of the guys did it too. Like, but I loved that though. I loved you could be anybody, and people don't care. There's like, they just like you for who you are. You don't have to fit any mold. And that's one of the beautiful things about major cities, is that when you have that many people together, melting together, and like I feel like a lot of people can be themselves, and if you're eccentric, be eccentric. If you're like Bane, he's having a nightmare squeaking over there. Jeez, it's good. You good, bro? I don't know. Living in a big city is awesome, but at the same time too, it's no place for me to raise a family or like try and take care of people, or you know, being where I'm at in my life, it's just not a place I could have made enough money to take care of my family and stuff. But it's a great place to learn, to have experiences, and oh man, it's an amazing place to skateboard when it's not like raining and shit. That's the one thing that people on the West Coast, like you guys get to skate, I feel like year round. Like us East Coasters, we get like a solid like 6 to 8 months, and then it's, I would say 6 good months, but man, the weather on the East Coast is brutal. But yeah, when I moved back upstate though, like skateboarding, I kept doing it. But then when I was like 22, 23, like I found um, glass blowing. And once I found that, it was like I didn't want to do anything else. It wasn't like, because when I talk to people, I'm like, oh, when I started glass blowing, I quit skateboarding, guitar, snowboarding. I quit everything that made me me. And I started a new path in my life. It wasn't out of like, coming from a bad place. It was because I was like, this is it. Like glass blowing, like I get to like spend all day like creating like pipes and art, and I get to use them. Because my thing is, when I worked at Head Shop, I've said this a couple of times, I loved putting water in the pieces and pulling on them and function testing. So that was before I was a glass blower. So once I started blowing glass and actually making the pipes, and I could put water in them and water test stuff and tweak things and make a new pipe, I was so hooked. It was so for me stopping doing everything that made me who I was to pursue glass blowing as my main thing and put all my time there wasn't like a hard thing. It's just something that happened. But nowadays like I don't know, like I'm feeling like I'm ready to get back into skateboarding. Like once the everything gets better out there and I can get back with my personal trainer, like lose a little bit more weight and you know get some more muscle built up around my lower back and stuff and my health insurance like or my I think my wife said her insurance went through for me because we're trying to get insurance for me so if I get hurt that we'll be okay, but it's tough when you're a glass blower trying to find someone that's going to cover you for all these new things. It's that's one thing. If you guys are glass blowers out there and you're trying to find a way, how do I like cover myself if I get hurt? So, because like if you're the main person that pays for your family's bills and stuff, and you're like, what happens if I get hurt on the job or something happens? That is a tough thing to find. So I would get at it sooner than later and just keep, um, you know, don't quit because man, it's a dangerous job for sure, even if you're very careful. Let's see here, drop my joint. Mark, you need a lighter, bro? Yeah. Um, but yeah, so I'm really excited to get back into skateboarding, and because too, I want to teach my daughter how to skateboard too. Like, I want to build a mini ramp here at our house and stuff, and um, I don't know. I just think there's so much you can learn from like any sort of a sport really, but skateboarding to me is special. So I really want to get her into that. I mean, and she's gonna be on a board before she knows it. I mean, I see kids nowadays like fucking like people post videos on Instagram of a kid like 3 years old dropping in and stuff. It's freaking crazy. I mean, I don't know if I want her doing that because I don't really want her to get hurt. But I think we'll be rolling around by age 3, I would say. So I'm really excited to share that with her, and I'm excited to really get back into skateboarding. And I think it's going to be like super healthy for me too to start getting out and doing more again because I've literally buckled down hard for 7 years on glass blowing. I said I was going to do it for 10 before I did anything else, but man, I'm getting an itch to like, go have a little fun and do some things. And it's not just the quarantine doing it, but it kind of the quarantine's like reminded me or been like, you don't even have the option if you want to right now. So I'm like, oh, now I feel it. Like I think I do want to do things again. Like I don't want to just bury myself in work just to prove a point that like I don't stop because that's like a lot of thing like how I post things on Instagram and maybe the image that I put off is that it's just like constant, constant, constant. I don't stop, and that is what it is right now. But I don't want to do that forever. I don't think anyone does. That's tough. That's a lot. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of commitment, and it's tough to be consistent at that pace. That pace can wear you down, so you got to be aware of that. But yeah, I'm excited to get back out and start getting on the board again. I hope my wife wants to do it too, because Cassie used to skateboard too. Like we were 15 when we got together, so she started skateboarding with me. Like taught her how to like ollie up curbs and do shove-its, and I think she did some kick flips and stuff. And she would skate ramps, like because me and Cassie like we would travel. Like when we were 17 years old, we drove all up and down the East Coast and went to different backyard pools because I knew all different people that had these big bowls in their backyard, and we would just go to ramp parties where you just drink Miller High Life and skateboard all day. We were the youngest ones there, but we kind of had an in just because family and skateboarding. We had like a lot of skateboarders in our family and stuff, and just new people. So skateboarding was just it was something that me and my wife did together too, just like we did World of Warcraft, just like we built Bear Mountain Studios together, and now we have this beautiful little girl together, and everything we're doing is a team thing. So that's one thing too, not to if you're trying to build your own thing out there, understand that everything I've done with someone right by my side that was 100% believing in it, supportive of it, and about it. This is very hard to do by yourself, guys. It's I would say it's near impossible to build something huge completely alone. You're eventually going to need people to work with you and believe in what you're doing and want to support and be part of it. So don't try not to push people away. But that's something I did for years, and we talked about that one episode, I think. But we don't need to get back into it. Oh yeah. I actually want to show you guys this Rick and Morty piece I just finished up with Windstar. I'm going to steal this mood mat from this little plant right here. Boom. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you. Had to show this off. It was sitting over there on the desk getting ready for shipping, and I was like, you know what? Before we pour the water out, let's show this little guy off on the podcast. It's a 14 millimeter standard RBR, and Windstar had sent me this prep back in like January, and it's April now. So it took me a while to get to it, which I feel horrible about. That's one thing sometimes I get really behind on work and it takes me a while to get to certain collabs, but I was able to get this one done. And she did the Rick and Morty flips on her like stained glass tech, which it's going to be hard to see in the video. You kind of have to hold it up to a light or let the sun hit it. But essentially it looks like these guys are in a church or some shit. It's great. It's like their faces are in stained glass windows. It's really fun. And then did that hold, right there. All right. And then I did the Plumbus mouthpiece. And I'll tell you what, I've only seen like a few episodes of Rick and Morty. So for me, like, I'm just being honest with you guys. I had to do a little research and learn about it. But man, I think I might be hooked on it now though. Cause I started like looking into it, watching stuff, and I don't even want to, I'm watching it now though. And I'm loving it. But yeah, so for me, like making like the plumbus and stuff like that and doing something different like that was fun. This was really fun for me to make because you guys see me do a lot of functionals and stuff. I don't get to do too much like sculpting or try to remake something that we've seen before. You know what I mean? Like when I make an RBR, like it looks like how I wanted it to look. But when you're like, people out there that remake stuff, like maybe they make who like I think it's Saney Glass. He makes incredible stuff. Or even like Mike Luna and stuff. When people make stuff that are like nostalgic to us or stuff that are actual things we've seen in like, TV shows and stuff like that. It was fun to be able to like do something like this. Is my whole point, something different. And it made me feel like, oh man, like someday if I want to pursue like more sculpting and stuff, that'd be really cool. Like right now I'm still super hooked on function though, guys. So I mean that's where my heart is right now. But it was fun to kind of get out of my comfort zone and try something a little different like this. I'll do a couple polls on it though. I don't know if you'll be able to see it super good. We can try though. Is this the camera we're looking at here? Sweet. Swing this mic up. But this color right here too is really special. I sleeved Haterade over slime. And the reason I did that is because I wanted the slime to be more transparent, but I still wanted it to have a really saturated green color. So instead of sleeving slime with clear and watering down the green, but still adding transparency, I did it with Haterade so that it kept that nice rich green, but we had some more transparency. This thing has like, honestly, this mouthpiece gives it such a different hit. It's really, really nice. You feel like you can just like pull super hard on it though. This thing just shreds. And I love how like with the stained glass, like how the function looks like with that like stained glass text she did. And this one's sold. Super grateful for the support, guys. Like you guys are, man, do you guys support super heavy, especially you guys that watch this podcast and get through this far of them and everything, because, man, I appreciate you guys. But this one is sold. And I'm stoked it's going to a good home. It's one of my collectors that buys a bunch of my work. I didn't even know he liked Rick and Morty, which is really cool. So, yeah, stoked how this one turned out. But today I am finishing up. What am I finishing up today? Oh, not finishing, but I'm about halfway through my Barcelona drop that's going out Monday. And then I'm working on, I think this Sunday's supposed to be our Sunday sale day. I'm probably only going to have like a couple pieces, maybe just one piece available. Just because because I'm doing these giveaways now, they're kind of the giveaways are almost my Sunday sale stuff that I'd make money on. But even if I make a little less money, I think the biggest thing is like supporting our stores and like showing people where to get glass and honestly have fun things for people to look forward to. And we talked about that earlier on in the episode. But I'm gonna light my joint, drink a little more coffee, and fuck, I don't even know, guys. This has been fun. Can't wait to have a fucking guest on here though. I'll tell you that right now. Had plans for it, but quarantine, so no one's coming in for probably a bit. But I'm gonna keep making these. We're gonna be here hanging out. I'll at least be able to catch up with you guys each week, even though I can, because I want to have guests on here so I can hear fucking stories and learn more about people in this community. Because I work so much by myself, and I don't get out to like the parties or anything like that, I don't hear the stories or I don't know people's background. All I know is what I see on Instagram, and I don't think Instagram is the best like way of showing who someone is or, as an artist or their background or what drives them or even some funny stories about their life that you guys can relate to. So that's why I just can't wait to have guests and start learning more myself. Oh, a little weed went through. Also too, like with the guests too, I feel like it could really push the podcast in a totally different direction as well. You know, like where, it's we're obviously have the solo episodes where I just hang out and talk and stuff, but having episodes that are more focused on specific subjects or just glass blowing and stuff like that. Because, this type of thing might not be for everyone, just hanging out and listening to a conversation and talking and stuff like that. Some people are more like, hey, I'm just really interested in function. I don't need to hear all the other bullshit. So I think that as the channel builds on YouTube and stuff, we're going to have like more categories of things and more things that are like, hey, folks, and this is like all about function. Here's like a solo episode with Evan, or here's like a guest episode where they get into this. And I hope to someday honestly have like someone that's in here like all the time for the most part. I'm really trying to convince my wife to do it. She doesn't want to be on camera though, I don't think. Every week she's like, do you have anything to talk about? Like, how are you going to do another episode? I'm like, I have stuff to talk about. We're going to hang out. I'm going to hang out with everybody. They're going to get on the fucking podcast. We're going to just talk about shit, or at least I am, and you guys are listening. But yeah, I hope to have guests on soon. Hopefully this shit gets better soon. Oh man, I have these like new like things I've been drawing up and like concepts and ideas and pieces I want to work on, and they're so different than anything I've done before. And I'm like itching so hard to fucking just. Some of them I can't make until I have certain tools. I need like some Dremel equipment and some more lapidary equipment, which is just cold working stuff where you can do a little bit more like precise shaping to things after the piece is finished, or parts, and then build a finished piece. So I need to save up a little bit more money for that and get these lathes running. But I'm feeling that like really excited feeling again, because as artists we go through like phases where it's like we're super inspired, everything's great, and then we go down and we're like, I don't even know what to make. Do I even like what I make? Like, and you go through these waves, and I'm in one of those ones right now with, it's weird, it's like with everything negative going on, I'm just feeling like really like I'm just feeling motivated and excited, and I want to share that with people, and there's new stuff I want to fucking make, and they're not even like functionals. I mean, they're gonna function, they're gonna be a pipe, but it's so different than what I've been doing. I'm going to keep obviously doing what I'm doing now, but like I'm excited for like the future and like my like, for my career to like in my artistic ability to grow so I can pursue all these different ideas. And a lot of these things I want to make, I don't think I'll even probably sell though. I think I'm making them for me just to have like almost like this big hookah recycler right here. Like there's certain things I want to make that I'm not making it to make money. I'm not motivated to make it because I'm going to get a big paycheck from this. I'm just making it because I feel like compelled, like I have to make it. It needs to be made. And I need to see it like manifest into a physical object I can hold, not just an image in my head. I want to hold this thing. I want to make it. So yeah, I'm feeling that inspiration lately. Maybe you guys can feed off that too and find a little bit yourselves, because got to do anything we can right now to continue growing what we've been all working so hard to build for years. I've only been working at this for 7 years. There's people that have been in the scene for 20, 30 years that have been building it, and everyone's been working hard forever. So I don't want that shit to slow down. Let's just keep crushing it. But yeah, let's see. Maybe one last thing to talk about, and this is one thing I talked a little bit with my producer about. Was just like, because I always tell you guys just to work hard. I'm always like, oh, just work hard, just put the hours and put the time in. And my producer brought it up because it is hard work, but there's so much more than that. It's not just like working hard all the time. And I'll try to talk about this now that I've gotten through a whole joint and I'm extra stoned, and I'll try to make sense here. We'll see what happens. That's why we save it for the end. So if you don't make it this far, maybe for the best. But I would say that definitely it's not just working hard. You have to have a plan. You have to have certain like milestones you set that okay, I need to get to this so that I can get to this. You need to understand that there's steps that you need to do, not just as an artist or a creator, but as a business person, as someone that's trying to look 6-7 years down the road. So for us, yes, we work super hard. However, my wife, on the other hand, she's the one that's constantly working on all the books, looking at taxes, looking at what we need to pay, what we need to get, what route we should take to get there. If we need to take a loan out and pay it over time, or can we just buy it? There's all different risks you need to take too. So this is where luck and everything's going to come in as well. So it's not just hard work and having a plan, but also risks you need to take. It's so much of it is that you'll have this great plan and this great work ethic, but if you're not willing to take that one risk you need to take to get to the next level, then it may never happen. You may just work hard all the time and just have just enough, which that's a trap. I've gotten caught in it a little bit at times, and I've had to like change things up to climb out, like this podcast, trying something different. These are all different risks I take that I'm trying because we don't know what's going to work. You need to cast many different things out there to figure out which one's going to catch something. So hard work, having a plan, be willing to take that risk. And I'm not going to lie, there's got to be some luck involved. I'm lucky that I haven't gotten, in trouble for something or gotten arrested for something or this or that. Like there's all these different luck things. I'm lucky that I had a girl that I met when I was 15 and we've been together and built everything together. There's a lot of that involved too. So understand if you're pursuing something and you're going to put everything you have into something, and even if you have a plan, you work hard, you're willing to take the risk. It may be that last little bit of luck that just didn't catch for you, but don't fail and then think that it won't work at something else, because that's the same thing with casting out a bunch of different things. You need to try a bunch of different things or have a bunch of different things going in order for one of them to catch. We don't live in a day and age where, just one person can go to work and provide for a whole family. Now both people need to go out and work, and they both need to have multiple things going on just in case one doesn't work out, because there's no consistency or guarantee in this day and age. So I just wanted to be clear about that. Like, yes, work hard, but there's a lot of other things that go into it in order for it to be successful. And I don't even know if we're successful yet. Yes, we sell glass. You guys support us so heavy. Like, we're making this podcast. We've rebuilt this studio. We're trying to do things. But what is success at the same time? Like, and for me, I've said it in other podcasts, like, when I'm successful is as soon as like my family, my parents, my brother, my wife, my children, they don't have to worry about anything. Everybody's good. That's when I'll find success. So for now, I'm still on my grind. That's why you guys see me still up all night grinding, crushing, and posting, doing drops. Like, we're still just grinding and doing it, because we're not there yet either. We're still taking those risks. We're still have a plan we're following. We still have milestones we haven't yet reached. But with each little step we make, and each week we post a podcast, and every time we get an order shipped out, every single one of those is a small building block to something that's hopefully going to be a really strong foundation for a bigger, something bigger someday, something that includes a lot of people and not just me and my wife and, my assistant. So yeah, fuck. Where are we even at, guys, here? Yeah, okay. Look at us. Well, I'm going to take a couple more hits off this, but we're going to be ending this up here soon, guys. And again, thank you everybody that makes it this far into my podcasts. All you guys that watch these and support these. Don't forget about our drops coming up. Boom Bap in Spain, they're shipping. So if you're over there, in the UK or Spain, or, I'm American and I'm from New York, so I don't know very much about the geography over there, but they are getting a drop. They're shipping still. Heady Glass Gallery, I believe they're in Maryland now, or Maine, but they're going to be shipping too. Most of where these locations are don't matter too much, because most people are going to be shipping at this point. Man, it was fucking fun hanging out though today, guys, and thanks for listening to me like mumble and drag on conversations, and it's been fun though. I love doing these. They're a great way for me to get my head and get my mind straight and reflect on what I've done in my week and my life, because I get so buried in my work sometimes I forget the things I've done. Stepping on that skateboard brought up so many stories and memories for me, and talking about New York City today was was nice too. It brought up even more things that I'm actually bummed I didn't talk about. But we have more episodes. We have other things we'll do and film. So I'm sure you guys will learn much more about me and everything we're trying to do here. And man, I hope you guys stay safe out there. I'm excited for next week. And man, this is the What's Up Everybody podcast. Thank you guys for watching and have an awesome week.